Hello and welcome to the people tuning in right now. I am Irdina Ishak, and this is Finding Your Power. So, for today's episode, since it is the premiere of this podcast, I invited a guest who shares the same sentimental values as I do.
Am I?
Yes, I know for a fact that you are sentimental, Cherish. Okay, and if we were at Awani, the most trusted news brand in Malaysia, our guest today would not need any introduction because she's been in the media industry for more than a decade. And her name would never fail to escape people's lips at the office simply because she's just that important. With that, I bring you Cherish Leow. Is that how I is that how I pronounce your name?
Yes.
Okay, Cherish Leow. She's a senior editor for branded content at Awani for Editor Services. Okay, Cherish, you want to say hi to our listeners?
Hello, everyone. As Irdina rightly already pronounced my name and made a really good introduction, I would say I'm quite humbled by her introduction. My name is Cherish Leow once again. So I've been with Awani. Actually, I joined Awani in 2010. So yes, it's been more than a decade. I believe this year would be my 14th year. And it has been a journey for me. I would say I learned a lot throughout the journey because this is the start of my career in the media industry. And Awani is like a cradle for me.
Okay. So, first off, Cherish, I know it might not seem like it because I love to tease you, but I'm really grateful to have you around. So, thank you for making your time. Now, let's start. So, today, the topic that we'll be discussing on is more on self discovery. It's about finding your purpose and that confidence that you have from deep within. Is that inner strength that you've always had it, but you might never even know it before because you've never tried unlocking your true potential. So let's start with the first part, which is finding your purpose. In this world, there are many people who already know what they want to do. For instance, we have Harits. Harits, for those who don't know, Harits is a news anchor at Awani. And the last time I went to an event, Cherish, when I was still attached with your team, I met with this longtime friend, and that guy said, Harits has always been passionate about journalism and broadcasting. So, meaning he's always known what he wanted to do. But then, there's like a portion of people in this world, they are still clueless about what they want to pursue. And unfortunately for me, I have always belonged to that category growing up. So, my first question to you is, Cherish. And I'm asking you this because I know for a matter of fact that based from the conversation that we had a long time ago during lunchtime, you told me that you didn't choose Awani. What's your story?
Okay. Well, maybe I want to clarify the part about I didn't firstly choose Awani. Okay, so the real story is this, right? When I had the opportunity to look for internship, like that time we call it industry practice, that many years ago. Don't want to reveal my age. But anyway, many years ago. So there's an opportunity for me to apply for an internship at Astro. And I did not make a selection in terms of, I didn't make a request and say, oh, I would like to join so-and-so channel or AEC or Awani or any of the other teams or radio. Instead, it was like by a chance of luck, I was assigned and assigned to Astro Awani. So I went for my first interview with the then executive producer, Jacqueline Ho, as well as another senior producer, Sarah Aliafong. So we did the interview, the conversation was nice, and then I thought, okay, I will just start my journey there. But at the time, of course, as a student, for me, it's like I have this credit I need to secure for my university in order for me to graduate, so let's do this. Then come when I really get into the journey, I get the opportunity to produce TV shows, assist to produce TV shows during my internship, did a lot of research. Recently, I kind of like doing my spring cleaning, and I found that, I used to write notes about the nuclear waste, during my internship, and like research and then all this stuff. So I like to say that Awani gave me the platform to expose and widen my perspective at that time. Then I feel the excitement that there are so many more things that we can learn. And it's not just about the media industry, not just about writing stories, but there are different industries, and all the industries, there are so many individuals within that segment, and each of them have stories to tell. So that excites me, that I find that, okay, this is really interesting. So for my second internship attachment, I decided to come back. I went back for Awani. And then I stayed on because I got offered to join the company eventually during my internship.
That's how it started. But then, have you always known what you wanted to do though?
Okay, I wouldn't say that I always know for a fact that I live and breathe media. I wouldn't say that. But what I really know is, since I was a kid, I think it's also something, there's this school of thoughts, a nurture against nature, nature against nurture, right? Nature against nurture. So I would say that because of my parents' upbringing, so I've been started reading quite young. I started reading Chinese books actually. Grew up, I only started to read more English books when I got into high school. A very embarrassing fact is I started reading English books through Harry Potter. It's like
okay.
the wizarding world. If you are into Harry Potter, if you go to UK and then you just want to go to the shops and all that and buy the merchandise, then we are the same, yeah? So kind of like Harry Potter was my thing for many years, still is, but now that we are a bit more mature, we don't want to admit it, right? So it's kind of like, oh, I know what you're saying when you talk about the sorting hat, for example.
Oh, okay.
But, that kind of thing. So my journey with English language started in high school. Harry Potter was one of it. And if you want to go back into talking about how I've built my confidence over the years, I started to build my confidence through an opportunity when I was appointed to represent my class in high school for a poem recital competition in English.
Oh.
It was a challenge. I have no idea why, but my English teacher at the time kind of like appointed me and another person, I believe there were two of us, to represent the class. And for me, okay, so if you don't know, I'm wearing contacts. Actually, I wear glasses, and I have really high power for my glasses since I was really young lah. So I started wearing glasses. So my tactic was nervous kan, going on stage nervous. Tapo, take off my glasses, I can see nothing. I don't know what is the facial reaction of anyone in the audience, so I'm like, fine.
Good tips.
I'll just recite my poem. So it was like a really big hall, a school hall, and then all of the students from my grade were there. So I'm like, went up the stage, oh my god, nervous gila. I was really, really nervous. Like I was shaking from head to toe. So if you talk about how I started with media industry, finding my purpose, it was I fall into it, right? That was my answer. I kind of fall into it and I fall in love with it. But the base of it, why I fall in love with it, is also because I already have that basis of I started to read really young. So I started to read more, even though at the time the language was different. I started with Chinese. It was my mother tongue, right? So I started learning about the world through Mandarin. But eventually I eased into English and then Malay when I got into school. So therefore, that basis of wanting to learn more about the world, about different industry, about the trends of different market segments, that become my thing. So I get excited about it. I don't ever find it boring to even learn about economy eventually. For someone that is younger, you may find certain topics to be pretty dry, like politics, economy. Why do I want to care about the economy or politics and politicians and so on, right? Why do I even want to care about democracy? Why do I want to care about aristocracy and so on? But then it's really interesting once you fall into it, then you start to like it. So that's how my journey was. So along the way that I gained my knowledge. But if you go back to the title of the podcast is Finding the Purpose, Building Confidence. So that's how I started to build up my confidence. Walaupun, yes, I cheat lah a bit. I took off my glasses kan. I'm like, okay, confident gila walaupun tak nampak apa pun. Like that. So that was how it is lah.
If that person was just not confident enough, you could hear that person's voice like tremble maybe. So what's the tip to project yourself clearly?
Okay, satu lagi trait. Okay, this is not original I boleh kata this is something that I learned through my readings. So along the way, I have to admit, I read a lot of self-help books. Self-help books. I read it since I was in high school because I think that moment where I stood on stage and then I feel that, oh, actually I'm so nervous. I think that moment made me realize that I want to improve certain things. So I wouldn't say I consciously at the time I say I want to be more confident. Tapi I think it kind of urges me to move towards that. I feel that in order to challenge myself, I should do more public speaking. Kind of like torture. So like, right, why am I doing this to myself? But I was going towards it rather than going away from it. So after that poem recital, I was in Form 2 actually, Form 2. From then onwards, I started to volunteer more on public speaking. Then I went to college. I also like started to MC different things. Not that I wouldn't say I'm the best, but that's a platform for me to build my confidence and build my public speaking skills. So even today, I work behind the scenes in Awani, but still, whenever there's opportunity for me to present, I would do so because I'm like, oh, this is me. I like doing that. So it's no longer it becomes like a second nature to me in a sense.
Okay.
So I wouldn't feel holding back anymore. So, oh yeah, did I say the trick? I didn't say, right? Okay, fake it until you make it. Again,
Very cliche.
yes, it is cliche. That's why I said this is not original at all. But it's true. You fake it until you make it because that's how I did it. Um, well, it's been so many years, so I wouldn't be able to tell you how the process is, but I would say that you always need to build that system in yourself. I think I would imagine it to describe it as build that system in yourself that you will not doubt yourself in anything that you do. You should not doubt yourself. Why are you even doubting yourself? Why Irdina? For example, so that's something that I would say, right? Why are you not your most solid supporter? Why are you not backing yourself up? So that's another saying. Also, I learned it from one of the books that I've read before. And this is the kind of tactic that I've used on myself, which is imagine you having a conversation with me. Let's say I'm feeling really down and all that. What kind of words that you would say to me? So you use the same scenario, you put it to yourself. Imagine your own friend, step outside of your own current self, and then you imagine what kind of words that you would say to Irdina right now, for instance. So for me as well, if I'm in a situation where, or in a kind of emotional state that I feel that I need to step out of it, so I imagine, what would I say to Cherish Leow to comfort her, to encourage her, to motivate her? So I would say Irdina can try this tactic as well.
How long has you practiced this?
Since I started reading that, I would be saying high school days, I would say.
Oh, so you've been reading serious topics ever since you were in high school.
This is how she wanted to find me. Okay, fine.
Did your parents, kind of like shape you to become the person you are? The confident person, support you?
I would say my parents are very supportive. It's just that if you know how Chinese families are, they are quite strict and stern. Nowadays, there are a lot of TikToks, right? TikTok videos where the influencers or the content creators, they created videos and say, oh, I grew up as an Asian, a certain way that my parents are bringing and so on. It's really relatable, even though those ladies, they're from Canada. They are Chinese born, but they are Canadian. But there are similarities in how the upbringing is. So our parents, for example, one of it is our parents love us, but they never hug us. So that is so relatable. I believe NK behind the camera, he's nodding as well. So that's how it is, right? I would say my parents are very stern, and I grew up in that kind of environment where I just want to perform better. Because if I fail my grades, my mom would, at the time, she would kind of like saying that you don't have to come back to school anymore tomorrow. You cannot see your friends anymore. So it kind of want to motivate me to do better.
Question. Because you said, okay, your mom is strict and stern, but then isn't confidence also linked to self-esteem? So don't those like comments actually bring people down though?
Yeah, that's true.
So how how do you help maintain yourself, like, being confident for so long and not being down by such remark?
There are two ways that I would think people would react when in facing any obstacles. I would say that kind of encouragement by my parents, a bit more strict, a bit more stern, that either makes you, like what you say, back away into become a very timid person, or you go against that challenge and then you want to be a different version of yourself. So for me, I chose the path where I want to pick and choose to be a different version of myself. And I always tell myself that in whatever I do, there are only a few basic principles for me. For many years, I don't have New Year resolution, to be honest. I never had. But my basic principles is I will do my best in whatever things that I do. I will give my best. And I will ask whether this is the best version that I could do at this point. Because different time of the day, you will have different emotional state, right? You will get tired, and then because you're hungry and you become hangry. So even if, let's say, that emotional state where I am hangry, is that the best I can do? So I wouldn't say that I have to be 100% all the time, but at different emotional state, as much as possible, I want to make sure that what I am presenting or deliver is at best as I can within that capacity. Like macam stomach dah empty kan. Okay, in that capacity, how much can I do more? So that's how it is. I would say, but you are rightly said, there are also people like macam in that situation where the parents like always very stern and not really encouraging in certain aspect. The self-esteem would be really low. So that's the difference between the Asian culture, maybe just Chinese lah, I'm not sure. Chinese culture and against the Western culture. Malay culture. Asian culture, I would say, right? Because we kind of like, we're much more reserved. We don't know how to show our love. But deep down, we know that our parents love us. It's just that the way they show it different. Unlike in the Western culture, which I noticed through my interaction with my friends here, ataupun the ones yang their family is half local, half Western kind of upbringing, they are much more encouraging. Their kids, like, oh, if you want to go down this path, they will guide them. So it's much more different. It really helps to build their self-esteem. That one, I agree with you.
Okay, question, because at the end of the day, we're just humans, and that's why we can't always be that 100%.
We cannot always be 100% for sure.
Okay, so have you ever felt lost in your life?
I would say in the beginning of my career, I wouldn't say lost, tapi I sort of fall into the job at the time. My task was to build a new program, and I was fresh grad now. So that was, I would say, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start because I had to go through screening for the TV host. I would go through building the DNA of the show. So all this process, memang I would say I was quite lost at the time. Tapi there's one motto that I always apply to myself is taking one step at a time. Don't try and take 2 or 3 steps and jump ahead. So that's why I always tell myself since that time, like I first got the project, that time it was a technology program called Gadget Nation. So I'm like, oh my God, I have to build this thing from scratch. Yes, there were consultants at the time that Awani worked with Indian counterpart called NDTV. So they consulted lah, kind of like what is the look and feel and all that. So thankfully they were there to guide us as well, or at least guide me like a fresh grad person lah. So I would say take take one step after another. Don't try to rush things. Never try to rush things. I find that at my age, what I really realize is don't rush into things. That one is true. That it can apply to many situations now. For example, there won't be any, or every time it wouldn't be all beds and roses, right? Maksudnya, you will meet people that challenge you. You will meet people that challenge you, not to say that they are confrontational ke apa, but maybe your brain waves doesn't gel. In a way that I think that's the easiest way to say it. Whatever you say, they couldn't get it. That become like sort of a challenging. You try to bring a message across, but they just can't get it. You may get into you may feel frustrated. Once you feel frustrated, you're so much okay, you can react kan. But I've learned, if you ask me how many years ago I started to learn this, I rasa at the start of my career lah, I learned to be like this. Because when, like I said, masa tu, fresh grad, I'm learning the ropes about production, behind the scene. I learned about video editing. I learned about framing and all that. I learned through all the seniors at Awani. So I'm very thankful for that. All the cameramen that helped me, all the directors who helped me, all the content producers that helped me. So I learned a lot along the way. But that doesn't mean that it was all smooth journey. There were arguments, there were confrontations, minor confrontations. Because I'm new, right? I'm fresh, so I have to just telan je lah. Whatever that at that time lah, you wouldn't be like, oh, you senior, you tak boleh treat I macam tu. But that was a different generation. Maybe Gen Z may do that, but I'm a millennial. So millennial kita tak lah kot. We wouldn't be like marah dia balik, tak lah. Because we at deep down, I know, I understand, because what I was doing maybe doesn't fit into how the workflow is, like framing salah or those kind of thing. So it's fine. I'm learning. It's just that the way they deliver it to me at a time may be a bit harsh. So macam tu. But biasalah, fresh grad kan, biasalah macam tu dalam media industry, I would say. But don't be afraid.
Cherish, okay, you said don't rush. And this is when you already have a career, a job to work on. But what if we're talking about people who haven't yet secured a job? You know, they've just graduated, but like just graduated 2 years ago. So they still don't have a job for 2 years. Then what about them? And it's like, it's related to what they studied, but they got rejected multiple times.
Is it a personal journey?
Yeah, kind of. Okay, so if you want to know, right, back then, okay, I studied economics in UM. And then I did my internship at Maybank. It's with Etika. And although it seemed promising, because my bosses, they did reach out to me again and ask me if I had a job. And to which I said, actually, I could always find a job, but like something that I don't really want, you know. And then there are also expectations coming from my parents because, well, for instance, my mom, she wanted me to work at B&M. But I know for sure that's where I don't want to go. And then there's my dad. He wants me to work for the government. And then suddenly, you know, with all this pressure, like you have to apply for this, apply for that. And then you suddenly like, okay, I need to find my own path. But then when you apply to this company you thought was supposed to be for you, they reject you. So how do you, you know, like truly pursue your goal? How do you do that?
That's a really tough question, to be honest. Because why would I say that, right? Each of us, due to our culture, upbringing, family, like you said, like family, parents, one parent, like father, may have a certain specific mold they would like to go, you know, they already see that Irdina is this character. I would like Irdina. I would like to see her at a certain profession, for example. Like we used to say a lot, like for our family, in the family, most of the time they say we want to see our kids to be a doctor, kan? Accountant, yang duit banyak, those kind of thing, right? So I would say it goes back into what you really want. I know you say that it's really hard for you to explore that, but I would say that it can be an excuse. Why? Kenapa? Because nowadays internet, all of us have access. There are some underserved community, of course. It's pretty hard for them to access stable internet. That is unfortunate. This is something that is out of our control, not within our control. But assuming the rest of us that have that access to the internet, if you have a smartphone, if you have access to mobile phone, you have access to stable internet, this is the opportunity. Even when you're in high school, for example, you can already start exploring and kind of like find out about different topic or different industry, do your research and see what stands out for you in terms of the calling lah, I would say. What is your calling eventually? So you read more about, let's say, if you're interested in science, you read more about science, what you can do and so on. There's so many resources out there. There are even free course. That's why I say it can become an excuse if you now tell me that, oh, I don't know what I should do and all those stuff. But have you done your homework? Have you at least
Have you
try
done your
and help
homework?
yourself? Have you at least try and help yourself to go towards finding your path? For example, I don't mean to be harsh or stern, yeah? Don't think that I'm trying to be harsh or stern. This is only my personal opinion. I feel that once you already have access to all this information, this is an opportunity for you to try and figure out your way. Don't try and rely on your parents or your friends to tell you what you should do. Don't even think that, because the path should be should be paved out on your own. You should find your own way. You have to hold yourself responsible for that. Don't blame it on your family. Don't blame it on your parents and say, oh, because my father wanted me to become an architect, so I become architect lah, but I'm very unhappy, even though I earn 20,000 a month, for example. But finding that happiness is important once you already about 10 to 20 years in that industry. You may earn a lot because you built your career trajectory from the ground up, right? Graduate architect, then you go into architect firm, and then you start learning the ropes, and then you become like top senior or whatever. So it's good, but does that make you happy, like truly happy? Some people say, okay lah, I got money, I can buy all this stuff that I want, I can travel anywhere. If that is what you want, then okay lah, because there's no right or wrong. So what the conversation we are having here is only like sharing, right? It's not like what I'm saying is, oh, yang ni Cherish cakap ni betul ke ni? But the thing is, there's no one answer to this.
Okay, so Cherish, my next question is, how to build your passion? How do you know what you're passionate about?
For me personally, how I figure out that doing content is my thing is I would easily get into the flow. The flow is kind of like you heard the writer's block and all those stuff, right?
Yeah.
So once you're in the flow, you're in the zone, so you will get lost in time. You won't even realize that 3 hours has passed, 5 hours has passed. So that's how I know, because I really enjoy what I'm doing. This applies to, because content creation got many fronts, right? This applies to me when I was younger, when I was doing video editing. So I do video editing, so I get lost in it. I can spend 3 to 5 hours experimenting different effects, different transition, move this forward by half a second, move this backward by half a second. What's the difference? Listen to the audio, background music. So that's what I did. And that's one part of it. Then writing. Writing is something that I practice a lot. I used to write blogs lah dulu. But now tak ada, because now I write proposals.
Dulu.
Dulu.
Proposals. Okay.
Sekarang I write
Upgrade.
So different, because blogs is to express your feelings, express your thoughts and all those stuff, just like journaling lah, just like journaling. I used to do that a lot. Now what I really do most of the time is I express my kind of like express my creativity through proposals, writing proposals. And because if you could remember earlier on, I mentioned about learning about different topics and industries and segments.
Yes.
So what I learned about that certain topic, let's say climate change, sustainability, and then I write it, put it into a proposal kind of format. Curating content lah, in a way also. Curating content is what I do. So going back to your question, if you realize that you are doing something I really love, kan, you won't feel like it's work at all. Like seriously, I rasa macam.
Is that why you came to the office when you shouldn't be working?
Hello HR. Okay.
Chippo. Okay.
Don't want to go down. Why sometimes we come to the office during off days is because we have the responsibility and we have to deliver, and we deliver it lah. We don't hate it because we also know that this is something that like for me, right? If you could remember, I mentioned about, is this the best I can do at one point?
100%.
Of course, I don't want to make myself like go into a state of fatigue and then mental health issue ke apa, tak. But as long as within my capacity, then I will balance it out. So let's say I have to step into the office on an off day. So I will allocate, let's say, maximum 3 hours lah. 3 hours, everything can be done. So what's next? So I plan lah for the rest of my day. Maybe I just go for coffee ke. It's an off day, right? You should at least still plan out, like have a mental note. Baik, I masuk office 3 jam. Lepas tu, I go for coffee here, can I treat myself kind of thing, for example. So it will make you balance back, like macam, you won't feel like, oh, I don't like lah going to office semua ni, macam I lost 3 hours. Tapi tak. How you balance it back lah. It's really important. How you set your prioritization. Because nowadays, sorry panjang pula. Nowadays, there's no one job that you only do one job. Faham tak? Like macam there's no one career that you are only hired to do one thing. Tak ada.
Like NK. Set up the room and the videographer. Okay.
I tak tahu lah. Maybe there are some profession, yes lah, but not in media industry lah. Like doctor, you save people lah, of course, kan? What do you do extra? I tak pasti, but maybe admin work, I would guess, if you're a manager. But kalau in the media industry, coming through this 14 years, there's no one role in media that you're only doing one job, one responsibility. Tak. You will always have to keep an open mind about learning things. Keep that into kind of like build a system in your head and say that I am ready to learn. What do you have for me today? Macam tu lah.
Okay. But then there's also this question arising from that is, how do you know you should turn that passion into a career instead of just doing it as a hobby?
Yeah, that is a good question. Sebab it goes back into what you value. What you value. Yeah, what you value, it can go into, okay lah, paling senang adalah what we value in life. Health. For me now, health comes first. So it's like when you're at this age. Which I'm not going to reveal.
I know her age.
No, so a few things that we value lah: health, family, friends, and then apa tu, career, money, all those stuff, right? So all these things that, all these things are the basis of what drives us, what motivates us, right? Some people, they go for money, which is they want to earn as much money as possible because it also wealth equals to power. That's what they're going for. So if that is the case, they may not choose the career that they are really, really passionate about, for example. May not. It goes back to what we value. Some people, they value family over money, over career. So they just want to make sure that my family is happy. I have enough money to bring back home to my family, for my kids' education and so on. So itulah jadi dia. So it wouldn't always be, I would say, it wouldn't always be one person that is able to get everything. Like maksudnya, they are in the career they love, they're doing what they love, lepas tu they earn a lot of money and all that.
Oh, so there's always something that we have to sacrifice.
You can say, well, it depends on how you want to see it. Is it a sacrifice ataupun you just see how you want to, whether it's a sacrifice or it's a way for you to attain the best possible for yourself.
I really would like to help a friend. This person could not find the confidence, okay? And then people have always known this person to be that way.
So they low self-esteem, is it?
I don't know if it's low self-esteem, but like it's easy for this person to like get bullied or people treat this person in a harsh way just because of how this person appears like it seems easy.
Easy target, is it?
Easy target.
Okay.
And then so how do we help this person to not be bullied and to get that confidence again? To come out from that shell and like,
It's really tough, I can understand, because I used to have a shell as well. My shell is dulu lah, not very confident. I grew up, actually, I was not a confident person until I decided at that point, like I said, I was appointed to represent the class, right? And then I thought, hey, public speaking is a good way for me to break out of my shell. So I think, firstly, that person, he or she, must have that yearning to break out of shell first. Then you will have to figure out a moment. Again, this is self-work juga, meaning that you still have to find and figure out a way. As much as possible, friends, like people, you and I, we can help them. But at the end of the day, he or she really needs to want it, and then you really want to go for it. In my instance, I really want to break out of that shell. It doesn't feel great when you have low self-esteem. I would say it's not a great feeling at all. It's kind of like you always slouch and then you're always just dragging your feet, for example. So it's not a great feeling. So I really like the feeling of kind of like you bring smile onto people's face. But how do you want to achieve that? Firstly, you have to have that kind of vibe lah. You have to bring people that sort of happiness. Not to say you have to be a joker or anything. Tak. You don't have to have a lot of jokes.
then
pun.
someone can interpret this as being a people pleaser.
Okay, betul. Okay, so that is also one part that I used to work on. Sebab that's the very easily you will go over kind of like become you want to please everyone. So that's one thing. This is also cliche. You can't please everyone. That is true. Betul. So once you already notice that, then you will start to say no to certain things. You may see like in people's micro expression when you say no, they're macam jap, I thought she would say yes, tapi she say no. Kenapa macam tu, but they will not say it lah. But micro expression, about half a second, they may have that, I thought she would say yes, tapi they will just kind of like cover back. They macam, oh, it's okay lah, tak apa, next time lah, for example. So I think having that awareness is really important. I noticed that at one point I was a people pleaser as well because I don't want to upset anyone, so I do all the work myself lah. I don't want to burden any other people, for example. So if let's say that person tak free, okay lah, tak apa, let me do it, for example. So it's not a good thing, sebab you will tire yourself really easily. So don't do that to yourself. Need to understand where your capacity is. In order for you to break out of the shell, I would say you really need to want to do it first. You need to want it for yourself. Imagine and build a vision of that confident you. Sorry, the heat of my. Imagine that confident you. How does it look like? Maybe you can also look for a role model that you feel that you can relate to. You suka vibe dia. For example, for you maybe Mariah Carey. I don't
No,
know.
not me.
Bukan.
No.
It's someone else kan? Someone
Blackpink
else
Rose.
we know.
Blackpink Rose. Okay.
Blackpink Rose.
Yeah,
so
the Mariah
you,
Carey is someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
So Blackpink Rose, let's say she's your idol. So you see and try and study how she carry herself, and then how she smile, how she look at people, how she interact with people, and then you mold try and build your own. Don't copy the 100%, but you just want to see how it feels like.
Copy.
How it feels like to be that. You envision how it feels like if Irdina, I'm like that. Macam tu.
Envision the best version of yourself.
Yes, you need to want that. You really need to want that. So I hear you. Kalau you low self-esteem ke apa ke, it's really hard. You cannot imagine pun macam mana. How does it feel like to be a person that is as confident as that Blackpink? Apa tu?
Rose.
Rose. Sorry, I that follow Blackpink.
Cut. We're gonna close this episode with this question. What advice would you give to someone who's embarking on their self-discovery journey?
I think the honest thing that we have to admit is every one of us is still learning. And I think that should be the mindset that we should carry at every phase of our life. So the growth mindset, learning mindset, or they call it learner's mindset, should be something that we should embody. So even for someone that just started the self-discovery journey, the one thing that you should have is keep in mind that you are always learning. We are always learning. I am always learning. Every day I'm learning. Now today I'm learning. This is my first video podcast.
Yeah, my first podcast. Okay.
So I'm learning, right? So this is the basis lah. If you could remember, I always talk about, tadi I mentioned that, not always talk about, but I mentioned that there will be certain principles that I adhere to. And you, along the way, once you grow wiser, you will also have your basic principles. So for me, one of it, like I mentioned, is take baby steps on your self-discovery journey. Don't rush into things lah. And then one thing is be the best version of yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to be 100% all the time. I always equal learning as kind of like we have a processor in here. Sometimes when I feel that in bahasa we say tepu, saturated at one point. My RAM dah tak cukup, kan? Process. My RAM dah tak cukup. So at different emotional state, is that what you can deliver? Is that the best you can do? But so I think the thinking behind this is also you have to push yourself, but you need to know when to pull back. Don't push yourself so hard until breaking point, sampailah tahap that you cannot be saved. Yang tu dah macam extreme lah. So in everything in life, right? Be it in our dietary ke, our
Balance.
mindset ke, kena balance. Betul. Like for example, turmeric is good. But overeating turmeric for certain people with health concern like liver ke apa, it's not good, right? So there are certain things that you need to know how to step back, need to know how to pull back. Macam tu lah.
So now that we've come to the end of the episode, thank you, Cherish, for being here. And don't worry, for our viewers, you don't have to worry because next week, there's always going to be Finding Your Power. So stick around, subscribe to us, and hit the like button. And hey, you can always find us on the Syok app. Also remember, you got this.